Thank you, Marshall. Hi, everybody. Today is July 2nd, 2025. This is the Wednesday CalPETS Q&A. My name is Alex Sandi. I am a data analyst at CSIS, supporting CalPETS, and driving for us today is Gary.
Hello.
Yes, okay. Yeah, Gary Gerwer. Right on. We're going to move on to announcements. And first off, Gary has it up on the screen. Calendar. EOI submission window is currently open. It has been open. The initial deadline is July 25th, and we are just 3 weeks away from that initial deadline. That's only 16 work days, if my calculation is correct. It may be shorter if you're taking time off or if key people are going on vacation. So please, please, please be mindful of that date. Make sure that you are ready to go well before July 25th. And along those lines, we want to also highlight the milestones that we suggest. So for end of year milestones, you can go to our user manual, and in that end of year roadmap, the milestones are right below the calendar. Oh, and Gary's showing us how to navigate there. And 7-Eleven, July 11th is our recommended day for zero errors, and that is next Friday. And that, I believe, is only 6 working days. So again, please take a minute to take a look at your vacations or anyone else that is a key player in your district, because we want to make sure that you're hitting that milestone of zero fatal errors by next Friday, July 11th.
I didn't do a very good job with the mouth. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. For the user manual, um,
Yes.
yeah. So when you're in CalPADS, anywhere
There
in
we go.
CalPADS on the left-hand navigation under Help, you can go to our user manual, and then from there, the end of year roadmap is where we have the milestones listed. So if you want to go to the main page, and oh yeah, you could just do milestones, I guess, or end of year roadmap. Yeah,
There we go.
there we go. Yeah. So um yeah, and right above that you have the calendar and then the milestones right below that. And we're gonna move on now to Flash 308. Flash 308 was actually I don't have the date from when that was sent out, but it was sent
I
out.
was last week, I think on Friday.
Okay, last Friday. I've been out on vacation, folks, so my brain is still trying to catch up on work. So 308 talks about the new migrant data collection in CalPADS, and we will be having a new migrant extract. We're going to call that MEPS, MEPS, and that is going to be available to you sometime so this month. Um, and it has a lot of really good information. At the very end, it has a change in processes that it suggests for you all, for the districts. And last but not least, this Friday, CSIS will be closed. We're going to be off for 4th of July. And so you can still submit tickets. We just won't answer them until next Monday when we are back at work. And that was it for the announcements. Angela, do you have anything?
Yeah, we had a we had a deployment yesterday, and this is hot off the press. The dev and test folks were late in getting us the list of fixed items, but thank you, Kyron, for quickly turning that around with me. So it is updated now. And that was all I had today, Alex.
Okay. Dominic, anything from the SPED office?
Yeah, so next week we'll be sending out the last of the annual determination letter counts to SELPA. So the LEAs can take a look at where they're progressing on reducing those non-compliant records ahead of the August prong 2 data pool. We're also working on a lot of data quality analysis in our unit. Hopefully, our goal is to get that out to everybody next week as well. I'll turn my volume up. It's as high as it can go, so hopefully this is loud enough. Ideally, we'll get those out as well, but um, Yeah, that's it. I lost my train of thought.
Well, if you remember something, just stop me
Well,
and
No, I think I was just going to keep rambling about the data quality checks. So I think we're good.
I'll call back on you if we have a lull and you can ramble on.
Cheers. Excellent.
All right. And then do we have anyone from CD? From
Sean's
the
here.
CalPEPS
Sean's
office?
here.
Okay. Hey, Sean.
Hi, how are you all? Thank you. Just confirming that yes, CDE is also closed for the holiday as well. So if you're submitting to SPED data support or any policy related items to the direct CalPEDS inbox, then yes, we won't be receiving those on Friday as well. But again, traditional with the holiday, I don't expect for you all to be there either. So we'll see you on Monday.
All right. I think that's all announcements. I'm going to start off with questions now. And we are starting with Soraya. Question 1 says, our team is planning for a 25-26 CalPETS account enroll audit review. Any tips for best practices to export and do this in mass for all our LEAs?
I can take that one, Alex, if you want.
Thank you.
So Gary's got it up on the screen. And Soraya, you're going to have to do this individually for each of the LEAs you support. But here's what I would do. Under the Users and Roles tab there, I would scroll down a little bit. And under Roles, I would do 2 passes of it. I would first go look at all my active accounts. And then anybody that's left the organization, go in and make sure I've revoked all their roles so that they can no longer log in, or if their roles have changed and they shouldn't be in CalPETS at all, that's the sort of thing. If you use all the defaults and run this, you're going to get a million records, right? Because a lot of people have a lot of roles. So I would start under roles. I would select SENR view only. There you go. Because almost everybody's probably got that one. And then I would select active, which Gary has done. And then when you search, go ahead and click the search button now.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It takes a second. And then scroll down, there's now an export button. So you can export that to CSV and do your audit that way. And then once you've revoked everybody that shouldn't have a CalPETS account anymore, I would probably come back and do it again, but leave all the roles there because it says you said you wanted to review their roles as well, and run it again with all of the roles selected and your active users, and then just make sure that those roles are still valid for those folks. But good on you for doing that. We do recommend folks do that this time of year, or usually right, new school year or at the end of the school year.
Angela, can I add to yours, please?
Sure. Yeah. I might have missed something. Sure I did.
No, I think you did great. It's just the rules. Soraya, if you're not, Angela's guidance is perfect. You can find this in the CalPETS user manual, though, under the roles and responsibilities, where she's saying what roles are recommended or the defaults. You'll see those detailed inside of the user manual. If you're unsure of what roles people should have or what we recommend, it's listed there for you for ease of access as well. Thank you to Kyron, who keeps that updated too.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Moving on to Sin from Danuba. Question 1 says, when is the next scheduled run for DC?
It went out last night, right?
So I'm not fully positive, Angela.
I checked. I was reading the questions ahead of time. So yeah, I verified that it went out. It didn't get updated on the homepage because it was missing. The calendar dates were missing in the admin function. So
I saw emails this morning, but I also think we had one that was canceled. I'm just getting, I won't be here fully. So I'm still getting caught up as well too. I've been out for a few days.
Yeah, right. So I believe it went out, and it usually takes them a couple days, but with the holiday,
it's going to take a little bit longer.
I think Monday might be the soonest.
That's correct. And that's what I was going to gauge for as well too.
And then right now, since presumably most of the exits are populated, just
Yes.
only the E155s, correct, are still being picked up. So just know when you're looking at your DC extract, it might be smaller.
Yeah, so then unless you're having that summer enrollment, not summer enrollment, unless you're having like a year-round enrollment and you put up your files for that 7-1, then Alex is absolutely correct.
Right. Moving on, Rigoberto, question 1. Good afternoon, team. Good afternoon. This request has been brought up before, but if CalPEDS admins have access to historical SPED and English language data, why is only program data legally confidential? Our LEAs primarily want access for gate purposes, but can you point to an ed code so we can let our higher ups know why confidentiality is only for programs? Is this because of the free and reduced?
I wasn't sure what he meant by confidentiality because it's all confidential and it's going to fall under FERPA. And it's also going to fall under your CalPEDS admin application. So that's the part that was a little tricky for me, that it is all confidential. It's not one or the other is less. I thought maybe he was referring to what like school sites might have access to. But if so, then that's a local decision, not a quote unquote CalPEDS decision where you're looking for an ed code to be able to reference to. But as far as confidentiality, then that would be FERPA that you're referring to, as far as which statute to be able to refer to. And that's a federal law.
Okay.
If anyone else understood that differently, please feel free to chime in.
If we didn't answer your question, Rigoberto, or if you have anything to add, just pop in another question and we'll get to it in the second round. Jan, question 1. Just to confirm about SPRG records for code 135 migrant, you will still accept those records as long as the start date is before 7/1/25, regardless of the end date, correct? It's important up to the end of year collection, up to the end of year collection. How long will those records continue to be accepted by CalPEDS?
I don't think we have a date for it. And Angela, correct me if I'm wrong. I know we will. Yes, Jan, to answer the initial portion of your question, yes, they can still submit them as long as it is prior to July 1st, 2025. So therefore, as in the flash, we recommended reconciling your records accurately. But we don't have an actual end date as to when that might get cut off like permanently. That no, they can't submit them or update them. And I'm not sure if we can take it back to the team and discuss that we need to implement one. And Angela, I don't know if anything else was discussed earlier today.
Not today, but usually what happens when we retire a code, we put the end date in there on the code set table. And so Jan, I'm curious, are you envisioning putting a program end date after July 1, 2025? That was my concern, that it may not accept that. We can move on and then come back to her if she's
Okay.
got any more questions on that or clarifications.
Sounds good. Oh, there she goes. Just trying to make sure our changes don't stop customers from managing their data.
Yeah, my only concern would be if they tried to use a date after the July 1. I have a feeling that might cause a problem.
Yes.
A program end date.
That
Definitely
I-
won't accept the start date, but the end date might be an issue as well.
But we don't require one though, correct?
What's that?
For migrant, we don't require one. No.
Right. We don't require
we
the
might
we won't
because
be
of
requiring
some
the
of
end date.
Other work. I can gladly add it to the agenda as food for thought for possibly next week, Angela.
Okay, that's great.
Okay.
Okay. We're going to move on to Anthony's iPhone. Question 1 says, hi, I'm having an issue with submitting a CTE course. 8132 is asking for additional subcategory course code, course content subcategory. And Gary, is that what you have up on the screen now?
Oh, I have, yeah, I have the code. I don't think we have a field for the category that has to be populated. So I'd be interested to see what the error is.
Yeah, I feel like we
The
need
only
a
thing
little
I
bit
know there
more
is a difference
info
if
on
you're
that one.
using a different content area. There was this 40 that was last year has been retired, and now the new content area is 130, but the subcategory is
Yeah.
it's not something we collect.
So I
Interesting.
think
Yeah.
we might want a ticket on that one, Anthony, with the job ID and the error code you're getting.
Mhm. Okay. Next up is Eric. Question 1. Could you please provide an update on the status of Title I funding for the 25-26 academic year? Is there any relevant site or documentation available? If the funding has been paused, does that mean we are no longer required to track this program? And Rebecca shared Title I Part A funds for fiscal year 25-26 were allocated and then provides a link to that. I have no clue as to.
Rebecca's answer is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, Rebecca's answer is correct. And if Eric, if you need further details for Title I, or if you have a cert 097 error code or anything like that, then definitely put in a ticket, please. Because that takes a little bit of time to be able to get adjusted. And so, yes, and you can work with the title office or the program office for school fiscal services.
Thank you. Carrie, question 1. When will we have access to the new code set for the year with the changes being made? That part of the rollover?
Yeah, that happens after end of year, after the end of year deadline.
Typically, Carrie, that comes out in around September, is when we update the CalPADS documents there. So you'll see the March dates there and everything, but typically in September is when we put out the rollover flash. That announces all the changes, and that's gonna it kind of aligns. I try to align that with regionals as well too, so that way we can give a more detailed explanations and review things, or if Angela needs to be able to demo something out to you all, that's when she provides like those updates as well to you.
Moving on to Natasha. Question 1. What date will we be able to start uploading 25-26 SCNR files? Today.
Yeah.
I mean, technically you could have been doing it already, but yeah, CalPADS allows future enrollments up to 6 months in advance. So you can go ahead and send up those 25-26 enrollments now. Lennon Gray, question 1. I have a feeling I know who this is, but okay. Any information about any possible impacts on funding for migrant ed for 25-26? And then says, I think Rebecca answered my question for now. So, all right, we will consider that one done. Moving on to Rebecca, question 1. Will migrant become like foster in that we can add records if a student comes in and registers stating that they are migrant once that information is validated?
No. Rebecca Morales, no. And migrant will not be like foster. There are some similarities, but overall, no. Your specific ask, no. It will need to go through your migrant education office for your county, and so you want to make sure that your staff personnel are connecting with them. And Gary's so wonderfully highlighting it there on the screen. And Is that Flash? I don't know the number. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's
Or
not,
no, I'm sorry. That's the data
that's
guide.
something else. I'm sorry.
But
Are we
it is highlighted in the flash that, what was it, 307 or 308?
308.
Yeah.
Thank you. So just make sure you're connecting them, Rebecca, with your county office and everything to ensure that that information is correct. And if you have updates or so, then those personnel would be the ones to update that information from the field work that they do.
Stephanie, question 1. Oh, whoops. What did I do? I think I clicked answered and then I did it too fast. All right. Q1, I was going to put a program end date for migrant today. I have 2 students that ended this year. Am I not to put in the end date now? I think it depends on what date it is, right? If it's sometime June 30th or before, then I don't think that you'll have an issue. It's only if the end date is 7/1 or later.
So the question is, do these records need to be closed out? Stephanie, no, they don't. That's going to be a district, that's going to be a local decision. As Gary was showing in the data guide there, then no, those records don't have to be closed out. And also when putting in the date, I've been cautioned before from our I think it's the multilingual office, or is the title that it changed over to for CDE. Be careful of that date, because that date is really important to the field, and it may not always resonate with the close of school year date for us. And I say us, I mean CalPAPS people. Sorry.
Weren't we automatically closing all 135s before the rollover? I thought I saw something about that. No?
The auto close. I always forget which programs are included in that.
No,
But
I
I think
mean,
it's
since we're migrating to the
But I don't.
Okay.
Sorry, Kai. I heard it in discussion, but I don't know what the latest outcome was. So if you saw differently, please let us know.
okay. We're going to move on to Angela's question 1. So it's Flash 303 indicates that status records are not required for one-day summer grads between July 1st through August 15th. But what about summer grads after our last day of school, but before July 1st? Will a status record be required? In that sense, yeah, maybe. So if the student graduated from the school that they were enrolled in during the academic year, right, 24-25, then you won't need an additional status because the status that you submit to us for the regular school year will suffice. But let's say that the student graduated summer school from school B. So that one day enrollment will be from school B and it's still, I don't know, let's say June 15th, right? Then CalPERS is going to expect a status record. But in that scenario, you would just submit a status with an exception indicator as yes. We're going to move on. Okay, so we're going to skip over Lynn and Gray for now and go to Teresa. Q1. Our SPED students that have graduated with a diploma have been exited from SACE one day after the enrollment exit date in CalPADS. All graduates have exit reason E230 and a completion status of 100 in CalPADS. All of these students are showing as eligible and participating on report 1623 because the not eligible, no longer eligible SWID's effective date is the date after the enrollment exit date. Looking at the report logic in CalPADS, I believe the eligible and participating SWIDs is correct, but just wanted to confirm.
That is correct. That is the expected outcome on the report for those students.
Mm-hmm. It's the whole reason why we are recommending, right, that the date be one day after the enrollment exit date.
Yep, exactly.
Next up is Asia question 1. Dominic, this is for you. Will the SPED data quality reports be sent to SELPAs?
That's my understanding that they'll be sent to SELPA.
Okay. All right, now we're going to circle back. Question 2 from Lynn and Gray is, as the plans for updating the CalPEDS data guide been abandoned, it is easier to search than the online CalPEDS manuals.
No, thank you for your question. No, the updating the data guide has not been abandoned by any means. We are working on both fronts to basically meal everything together as wholly as we can. So while the data guide it does require updating, the CalPEDS user manual is being updated more often, and our goal is to eventually transport the data guide into the user manual fully. But until that time, since both have relevant information, both are accessible.
And Stephanie replies to the end dates on the migrant program. They were January 29th and April 4th. So those are fine. CalPEDS should accept those, no problem.
Mhm.
Wow. Oh, here we go. Okay, Alex, question 1. We have IEPs being held in the summer for preschool students that are expected to attend TK or Kinder for the 25-26 school year. We don't upload SCNRs with summer dates, so how do you recommend I obtain an SSID? My SPED department is telling me that they need to upload a SPED file that entry date must match with the IEP date. So I'm going to give my recommendation, and Dominic, you can correct me if I'm misspeaking. So I would say that the SCNR should have the enrollment of the first day of the start date, the enrollment start date equal to the first day of school. You can hold meetings over the summer, and the meet record doesn't have to overlap an enrollment for the student. So if the meeting is happening today, you can submit the meet with today's date, and the enrollment can just be, I don't know, August 15th or whenever the start of your school year is. And the plan should have an effective start date also equal to the first day of school, because that's when the plan becomes effective.
Yeah, you said it better than I would have.
Awesome. And Audrey agrees. Okay. Dominic and Audrey agree, then I'm good. So I guess this is where you continue your rambling, Dominic, or
Sure. So I was rambling because I'm sleep deprived, and I'm sleep deprived because of fireworks scaring my dog.
oh
in the
no,
night. So
already.
I'm gonna ramble on a soapbox a little bit and just encourage those with pets to be extra careful on Friday as everybody's celebrating, and be mindful that these explosions are really terrifying to animals. I also live literally like a stone's throw from the VA hospital, and so having fireworks going off in my neighborhood, I find extra unacceptable. So yeah, that's my soapbox ramble for this week.
They gotta get them the little muffs, Dominic, the little sound reducing muffs.
I've tried everything. I've tried Benadryl. I've tried
Aw.
earmuffs. I've tried like the what are they called? The thunder shirts.
Yeah.
It's nothing. I'll just wake up with like my little dog like trembling
Yeah.
attached to my neck while I'm trying to sleep.
I've heard
Heather-
that whole, yeah. Well,
Heather
basically.
Heather gets actual drugs from her vet. It's
Oh,
like
cool.
some sedatives you can give them.
Yeah.
We get something for our dog called, and it's not for fireworks. She doesn't afraid of those, but in the car she shakes like crazy, and they're called calming bites. I don't know where my wife gets them,
Oh,
but they seem to
I've
work
done
really
that.
well.
You can get the calming bite ones. You can get those at the like little the more specialty pet
Pet
stores.
stores.
Yeah. Or the specialty pet aisle.
All right, I'll have to go look for something like that.
Yeah.
And I'll go ahead and address Lennon's question 3, the usual question, which normally I would just say, oh, I've finished my, I've finished it. It's off to the review process. Well, the review process has come back, and I have some edits to make, but we are much closer to having the SPED data guide ready than we have been in a while.
Now I for sure know who Lynn and Gray is, no doubt.
Yeah, I think you added.
I
your
was
son.
right. I oh yeah, that is very sad. Well, I guess this is where we can cue Marshall's playlist. If you guys needed something for your 4th of July party and you didn't know what to how to party.
Oh, that's great. And we
Speaking of, some of the CSIS folks on this call have not signed up for the potluck yet.
oh yeah, that's right.
You know what? That reminds me. I don't know what CSIS potluck. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know what CSIS potluck we're talking about. Oh man, that sucks. There's my answer. I'll expand upon that later on. But LAUSD. I think we were all invited to a potluck once upon a time. Has anyone gotten their invite from CDE or CSIS? Just putting that out there.
I missed what you said. LA invited you to what?
LAUSD invited us. I won't name names, but LAUSD they invited us to the cookout because they wanted to play Marshall's playlist.
Oh.
And so I was like, has anybody gotten their updates or their invites? Because I know I haven't.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go ahead and put the rest of those songs and stuff out there. Try to get ready for next year. Try to do something a little different. So you guys, if you guys go ahead and certify on time, that give me more time to play around with my equipment, and I can get real creative. Maybe if Angela lets me do it.
It's gonna get the LEA certified earlier, I'm sure. Yeah.
We have a few more questions, Alex.
Yeah. So we're gonna move on to Charlene from Cupertino. Question 1 says, while requesting SSIDs for the new year, I found a hijacked SSID situation. I emailed both LEAs involved. Is there anything else I can do while waiting for the issue to be resolved? No, we don't like these.
Okay. Yeah, like hijack is kind of a strong word. Sorry. If you've already emailed them and Charlene, if you need arbitration through it, then that's also in the CalPADS data guide. Typically, that's when I say pick up a phone call though. Sometimes emails, they may not be landing with the right people. They may have not updated their information or so. So you may just want to give the LEA a courtesy phone call and say, you know, who do I get this resolved with to be able to work it out. But if it's going to prevent you from being able to certify, or it's preventing some type of workflow for you all for EOY, then definitely go ahead and put in a ticket, and we'll go ahead and assist with you.
Alex, question 2, can you please repeat the answer to the summer SPED question so that I can write down and relay to my SPED department? Thank you. I believe for that, the question was, meeting is held over the summer, but the student won't start until, 25-26 normal school year. In that scenario, the enrollment should be, or the SSID should be requested with the enrollment start date equal to the first day of school. The meeting record does not have to overlap the enrollment. So meeting record can still have a date of whenever the meeting was held over the summer. And once school year starts, then the plan actually, I believe that there's a scenario for this in the SPED office's file submission scenario.
There
Right,
is.
Dominic?
It's usually related to like transitions from preschool to kindergarten. I think that's the specific scenario that talks about it. But you're right. It's essentially sort of the same thing. You have that meeting in the summer.
And so the plan and the status of eligible and participating will both have that first day of school. Because again, that's when it becomes effective. That's when the student's plan starts. The meeting is outside of that, and that's okay. I think that that's all of that. If you wanted the actual scenario, you can send in a ticket and I can pull that up for you.
Or if anybody has their transcript running, they could copy and paste it into the chat.
You read my mind, Dominic. I just copied it while she was
That's true.
talking. I'm gonna put it in the chat for you guys.
Smart. Okay, question 2 from Rigoberto. A follow-up to my question 1. Sorry if I'm being stubborn. I asked as a CalPETS admin why we can extract historical SELA and SPED records, but no historical program records. I understand FERPA protects student data, but I guess what is the technicality that we CalPETS admins can pull historical SPED data that comes from other LEAs, but not program data? Okay, I see what and I'm glad that you asked again because, and folks, I think we should mention, don't feel bad if you ask the question again, because sometimes we interpret your questions in a different light. So if we're not answering your question fully, then feel free to ask again. That's the whole reason we're here, is to make provide clarity for you all. So I understand now why you're saying you can extract SELA records from different districts, SPED records from different districts, but for program records, when you do your extract, it's only for your LEA. And I believe that the reason for that is that the SELA and the SPED records continue on for the student. If you go from one LEA to another, it's still valid. Whereas program records, it's very specific to your LEA and even schools within your LEA. And so for that reason, it's limited. I don't know if anyone else has a different answer than that.
No, answer spot on. And so I just want to highlight it's the difference between eligibility and participation, and then eligibility extending across, as Alex pointed out, different LEAs, because they cannot you cannot confirm for those legality reasons. And so for SPED data, that is, you're looking for ed code for that. So that is going to be IDEA. And then for SELA records, you are looking for a statute for that, however. And so it's not an ed code. SPED is the federal mandate for IDEA, and for SELA, it is the mandate for the federal mandate for your HLS, your home language survey. And so those are the federal mandates that you were asking about direction back to, and that would be your direction there. And to Alex's point, also, thank you for clarifying, because we read that completely different.
Mm-hmm. Okay, moving on to Adriana. Question 1. This might be a silly question, but does program file 185 TK need to be uploaded? And Jan answered, no, not any longer. Sorry, it won't be accepted. TK is its own grade level. That's correct. TK got retired. Is it 2 years now?
I think so now.
2023. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Adriana, Gary's showing you where to look that up. He's in the code sets and he looked up grade level or not grade level. You want to look up education program code, Gary.
Oh, come on. My mouse is slower than my fingers. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
And then 185 is what she's looking at.
And I didn't see it in here, so it's like they
Oh, did you
removed-
already filter on end dates?
Oh, you know what? I just have NAs. That's right.
Yeah.
There we go. That's why I didn't find it, because I don't usually keep it on.
Mm-hmm.
And there it
But
is.
the last column indicates when it was last used. So if you tried to send it up now, you'd get an error message that said that's out of range.
Lynn and Gray, we will hold on for that question 3. Rebecca, general question to LEAs on this Zoom. How are you guys doing with your Sunbucks submission to EDCS? I am going to leave that up for people to answer on that. I am curious how that's going. Meanwhile, I'm going to circle back to Lyndon Gray. Question 3 says, why is there no revision history in the CalPATS error list?
Where is that?
The CalPATS error list, there's no tab that says revision history.
No, where's the question?
Oh, 340? Question 3 from Lyndon Gray.
There's
Talking
a
about
revision
this?
history in
Oh,
my
up
copy.
here. There, oh, she finally answered it. Yeah, there is one. I don't know what it's called. I don't know if it's called revision, but it's the second tab.
So that link takes you to the CalPADS user manual troubleshooting page, which is the version of the error list that exists on the user manual. You are able to download the Excel version, which does contain the revision history. It's just not located on the
Oh.
actual user manual page itself.
There you go,
Yeah.
Sue Ann.
So
Hi
yeah,
there.
it's the Excel version in the footer of CalPADS. If you open it up, it's the second tab.
Okay. Next we have Cindy's question 1. Can we add initial start date at the LEA on the SSID extract? I thought the enrollment start date was already there. Yeah, Gary's taking us to user manual, extracts, SSID extract, and their enrollment start date is field 10. Is that, I wonder if you mean initial start date for the SPED? Or,
Or
yeah,
initial
there's,
US.
I know.
There's-
The enrollment date is for the current school year. Which start date are you looking for then, Cindy? Requesting for the first enrollment ever at the school. Oh. No, we definitely don't have that.
We have this one, but that's
Mm.
could be other schools.
Mm-hmm.
Would it be in your student information system?
Mm-hmm. I think you can always submit a ticket with your request, but let us know why. Let us know the reason why you're needing this information, and then we take it up the chain and talk it amongst CDE and other folks to figure out if that's something that would be beneficial for everyone. So as of now, no, that's not something that is available.
You could filter on school of attendance and then look at the enrollment start date. Or that might not work.
Because if a kid went to school A, I don't know, 5 years ago, then left, and they now came back, I believe Cindy wants that first initial date. Yeah. All right. Next question from Charlene. Question 2 says, for program eligibility, is the new ELP program 194 an eligibility program? Do we exit student at end of year? The expanded learning program.
I don't know. That wouldn't be in any data guide yet.
No, it's not. Sean, do you know the answer to that one?
I'm sorry. I heard it, but I was answering something
It's
else.
342 from Charlene. She's asking if the new ELP program 194 has to be closed out at the end of the year, or can they leave it open?
An ELP is the
Expanded learning program?
that one I do not know. I'm just confusing it with LIP. I'm sorry. I really was. And I was like, wait. That's a great, Angela, I think that goes back to when I last heard, I don't think we had decided. Sorry, but I wasn't in today's meeting. Our questions around programs, closeout dates each year. And well, from my recall, that's where we last left that off. And so to answer your question, Charlene, I don't believe we have an actual answer for that. And so I don't know where we settled with that, Angela. I know we were in discussions with, I think, the vendors the last time, right?
Yeah.
Jan says, it seems like it would be an annual program since the reporting of days actually attended needs to be within the fiscal year. That makes sense. We would want that to be.
It does, and I think that's where we were leaning to Angela fall off.
Mm.
Or is my computer just funny?
I'm
No,
here.
yeah.
Oh, okay. No, I only see like myself, Gary, and Matt, and then I was like, oh, and so Matt like replaced your box. So I was like, wait, where'd you go? So I agree with Jan, but ultimately that's where we're leaning towards anyways, is for yearly for everything, for other various reasons. So Charlene, to answer your question, is it a best practice for you? I would definitely say yes. Sorry, forgive me. I would definitely say yes.
Okay.
And Lennon Gray, is that
Sue-Ann.
Joanne.
okay? That's what I thought. I was like, I wasn't sure. Thank you. Thank you. And Sue-Ann, I don't know what actually Paula stated again because I wasn't here, but yes, it's in alignment with what Jan is stating. So thank you for helping, Charlene.
And then Cindy answers a question for her request on the SSID extract, wanting the first enrollment for her school. It says it can help to address the LIP start date errors. So for that, we added the initial US start.
Enrollment.
And the initial US enrollment. So field 17 and 18. So field 17 will give you the earliest enrollment start date based on the student's enrollment, regardless of which LEA it is, right? Because the student could have been with you, I don't know, 2012, but they would have been at a different LEA in 2010, let's say. So we want to catch the earliest kinder through 12 enrollment. And then the other one, the field 18, is the initial US school. And that is pulling from the demographics from the CIMF record. And that is because the student could have been at a private school, let's say. And so we want to make sure that we're capturing the earliest from the CIMF as well. So from those two, you can kind of discern which would be the most accurate for that LIP.
If I may add, if you're trying to basically reconcile the dates based on their enrollment within your LEA, you could probably run the SENR ODS extract and have a date range that's farther down in history. Yeah. And you should be able to get all of those, assuming they were enrolled at your district at the time.
Yeah. And I think I actually need to take back what I said. Those two fields that I talked about quite in length were to address the, I think, a different thing. I don't know that we did that for LIP, but it might be helpful for LIP as well. But I think I like Karen's answer better. ODS, SCNR. Jan, Sean, perhaps we need to discuss Program 194 at the next vendor call to get Paula's perspective and come to an agreement. The vendors need to know how to treat it in our system extract.
I don't think Jan, I agree with you. I don't know if it'll be at the next vendor call. I don't think we were quite ready for that yet. But if it hasn't made it there yet, will it? Yes. It just may not be at the next vendor call, but it's something we've been working on. Yes.
And I'm glad to see that Rebecca's getting a lot of answers there. Looks like people are working away. All right. Well, give it another minute, but I think we're at the end. People are ready to go on vacation, I think.
Yes.
Okay, well, if you all need music to go along with your barbecue, send us the ticket and we'll give you Marshall's playlist. And other than that, please be safe, have tons of fun, eat a burger for me, and we will see you next week.